All right, it's that time again. Time for another Sunday video. I think we're going to go ahead and continue our bug out series and talk about water. Let's get to it. All right, for those that don't know, we've been doing a bug out series for the past 2 weeks. The first one was a general overview. We talked about a basic bare bones bug out kit that you could use that would double as a camping backpack. And in that video, we discussed 4 types of shelter setups. The fourth one I kind of disregarded because it was a hammock system. And we discussed the breakdown of that. At a minimum, you have a 3-part system, meaning a strap, and a hammock. It could be up to a 7-part system consisting of mosquito nets, a tarp, underquilt, overquilt. For the most part, everybody understood that breakdown. Some did not, so let me clarify. Whether you are camping 50 feet from your vehicle, say at a campsite, or you're unsupported 1.2 miles walking on a flat dirt road, carrying Monster energy drinks, cases of beer, cartons of cigs, a couple bags of groceries, a cowboy camping setup will always be, in either case, faster to stuff away than a 3 to 7-part hammock system. However, if you enjoy hammocks, and you're all about hammocks, and you sleep in nothing but hammocks, and you don't mind the extra work involved or time to stuff all those items away, please bring a hammock. Bottom line, you need to be comfortable and experienced with the gear that you carry. So if you're all about hammocks, bring a hammock. Talking about water, we want to go ahead and apply this to a bug out scenario. Whatever your bug out scenario is, if it's just bugging out for practice, if it's bugging out in lieu of what we were talking about, we had, the possibility of nuclear attack from Iran, or simply, hey, there's a major earthquake, we need to get out of here and go to my farm that's 100 miles away, and we're on foot or we're driving there. There might be some type of chemicals from the farmland that leach into the water. If you're in a heavy populated area like an urban environment and a major earthquake hit, say the sewage system got ruptured and it leached into the water supply, well, now you're at a risk for viruses being in there, bacteria, things like that. So again, we want to keep this as simple as possible, but meet the needs at hand or the possible needs. If there's no fear of radiation, do I need some type of filter to take out radiation? Do I need a Geiger counter? Probably not, right? If I'm going through the woods and I find a creek and I collect that water and simply boil it, is there any fear of pharmaceuticals out there? Most likely not. It probably came from rainfall off or some type of underground well or spring. The only risk is animals urinating or going to the restroom in there. So we want to boil that to kill anything inside there. So again, we want to look at this from the perspective of what are my needs from point A to point B meaning my bug out location, how many days involved in there, and what type of disinfecting or filtration system am I going to need to fit my needs. So today I want to go ahead and talk about 4 basic ways to make sure your water is clean. I'll use the word clean because we'll talk about a breakdown between disinfecting and purify here in a minute. But making the water clean and drinkable. So with that, let's go ahead and talk about the number 1 way to disinfect water while out in the woods, and that's boiling. Now, before we get too far down the trail, the Etsy store is open, and once again, the Etsy store is open. We got 100 Corporals Corner hybrid skillets dropping right now. That link is in my video description box. Grab them while you can. They'll last anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours, and you're SOL till next week. Once again, we got 100 Corporals Corner hybrid skillets in my Etsy store right now. That link is in my video description box. Get her done. So boiling the water. Let's go ahead and talk about exactly what boiling water does. It renders inert or kills viruses, bacteria, protozoa, and parasites. That is it. It does not get rid of pharmaceuticals. It does not get rid of any type of petroleum products that might be in there. It does not get rid of radiation. So it does not get rid of any type of solids. If the water looks like crap, tastes like crap, smells like crap, once you boil it, it's still going to look like crap, taste like crap, and smell like crap. It's just going to be disinfected, right? So how do we do this? We collect our water in whatever container, preferably a stainless steel container, and boil it on a fire or some type of stove to where you get a rapid rolling boil for 1 minute. The time it takes from 0 to that rolling boil, meaning the bottom is churning over top of it with large bubbles. However long that time is, you pass through the pasteurization, which is 145 to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. You skip over that directly to the boil. Once it boils for 1 minute, it's considered safe. Now, the problem with this is, like right now, it's 90 degrees outside, and you got about 80% humidity. Do you want to stand next to a fire and do this? Maybe not. Second downside, now I have to wait for that water to cool down 35 to 45 minutes before it's cool enough, and it's still going to be warm, for you to ingest it. Once you do that, repeat that process again and again and again and again. So in a sense, you're becoming dehydrated just simply sitting under a tree. I'm sweating right now, waiting for that water to cool down just to get it to be dehydrated again, and just continue doing that. So how do we get around that? We start talking about filtration or purification. When you purify something, you're removing the viruses, bacteria, protozoa, and parasites. You can also remove pharmaceuticals, solids, smell, taste, radiation, and so on and so forth. So there's pros and cons to everything. Again, you need to think of the application between point A, I'm starting here, point B, I'm bugging out here, what's in between. Based on that determines on what you need. So on that note, let's move away from boiling water and talk about filtration. So we're talking about filters now. And remember, filters remove the viruses, bacteria, protozoa, and parasites. And I also mentioned I was going to talk about 2 different filters. Technically it's 3, but we're not going to talk about this one. I showed this in the first video, so go back and check out that first video on the bare bones kit, and you'll see me talk in depth about the Sawyer filter and the Father Nomad attachment, 3D printed piece of plastic that actually goes on the Sawyer and will adapt this to any type of 1 quart stainless steel bottle. Simply threads on there like that. Your contaminated water here, and then just roll it or squeeze it down, and the fresh clean water goes inside your container. So check that out. Once again, the thumbnail looks like this. And the link to Father Nomad's filter adapter will be in my video description box. Let's go ahead and kick this off with the Grail. Now this is a 3-part system. You have your container that you collect your dirty water in. You have a filter that pops on and off the bottom. And you have your inner container right there. Simple process, collect the water, place it inside, push it down like a coffee press, and the water passes through that filter into the inner container right here, or compartment. And then you just open it up and drink out of it that way. These things can hold anywhere from 24 ounces down to 16 ounces. They make a slim version, so I think it's like 16 ounces. And this one here, I think, is 24. And it's a great system. I believe the filters are good for 65 gallons. So you got to do the math on that. This is 24 ounces, et cetera, et cetera. Just add from there. Once it gets clogged or becomes clogged, it's harder to press down. Now, every time I mention that, someone makes the comment, well, they'll just wait till it's hard to push. Well, what if it gets clogged because of debris, or moss or soot, and it starts to become hard to press at 30 gallons. So that's why you kind of want to keep track of the gallons on there. My own personal preference, I'd have a notebook, and every time I drank 24 ounces, I'd mark that down, find out how many ounces are in a gallon, and then go ahead and say, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 1 gallon done. I technically have 64 more. Now, like we talked earlier, filters remove viruses, bacteria, protozoa, parasites, pharmaceuticals, chemical waste, petroleum products, radiation. But this one right here, I'm going to read this off because a lot of times I say this stuff and people want to kind of, debate it. So we're going to look at the actual website. I'm going to show you, I'll put a screenshot up here of what this filter actually takes out versus what people think it takes. What you just saw, it says right here, removes 99.99% of rotavirus, norovirus, hepatitis A. Then it goes into bacteria. We have E. coli, salmonella, dysentery, protozoa, 99.9%. It says giardia, cryptosporidium. Then it filters out microplastic, sediment, silt, chemicals. We have chlorine, chloroform, and PFAS slash PFOS, heavy metals, lead, arsenic, and chromium. So anything not on that list, that filter will not take out. All right, so it's something to be aware of. Again, depending on where you're going, point A to point B, what's in between there, will this filter out what I need? If it's sewage, if it's some type of virus other than those 3 viruses mentioned that might be prevalent in the water due to a large earthquake and that sewage being inside there. Other bacteria besides what it just says right there. Now, there is a micron level on this that will take out other things as well, but these are the predominant ones that they advertise for. Now, here's my take on this. If what I'm concerned with is not listed on here, then it's probably not the filter for me. Now, that's not saying that the micron level of the filter won't take other things out. I'm going to go with what it says. I'm not going to assume something or listen to somebody's video on YouTube and say, well, they said it. They can say whatever they want. If it's not listed here, I'm not going to deal with it. Now, determining factor, end results. Like we mentioned, you're at point A, you need to get to point B. What's in between? Or possible contaminants that are in between this location. If it's just the woods, get by with a cellular filter like we talked about earlier. If it's some type of virus, say a sewage line broke, or there's bacteria, E. coli, salmonella, giardia, things like that, you might want to go with a Grail. Now, like all filters, we have the same problem. If the filter becomes clogged in any way, your 65 gallons could become 20 gallons. So you want to go ahead and probably pre-strain all the water prior to collecting it. Simply place a bandana over top of your container, get those large solids and floating objects out of there, moss, slime, etc., heavy silt, debris, leaves, get those out of there and only filter that water. Trying to keep the life of that filter for as long as possible. Next problem with any filter is freezing. Now, when that's mentioned, it doesn't mean the plastic freezing and cracking. It means the membrane or the actual filter on the inside cracking and allowing larger molecules to pass through it. That's supposed to be trapped. Does that make sense? So those are 2 things that every single filter has to deal with, all right? Now, not saying this is a bad system because of that. All filters will have to deal with that. Now, this thing runs around $75 to $80, and the titanium ones are $100 plus for 65 gallons of water. So it's a give and a take there, it is what it is. If it's $80 and you get 65 gallons, that's about what? A little over $1 a gallon. So still cheaper than buying bottled water. The looks of this, I can put this inside here and go to any airport, walk around with it. I can travel with this, and it looks like a regular water bottle. Now, along with that, the filter pops on and off once this is broken or filled. Toss it, grab a new one. The ease of access, outstanding. So again, it's point A to point B. What are you trying to accomplish? Now, the one real downside to this, in our current scenario that we have planned out here, we're bugging out because of what was going on a couple weeks ago in the world. The Grail will not filter out any type of nuclear radiation whatsoever. There's not even a filter adapter for that, or a special filter that attaches to this. So if your intent is there could be fallout, and you're carrying a Geiger counter, it's going, and you see or you hear that, this is not the filter for you. So with that in mind, let's move on to our next filter that does account for nuclear radiation. moving right along here, my next choice is from a company called ETA. That's Emergency Preparedness Travel Adventure. And they came out with this water bottle. It's 28 ounces, and it has an internal filter similar to the Grail. A little bit smaller, but attaches the exact same way. Got holes in the bottom there. Basically, fill up your contaminated water once you've strained off all the solids. Like we mentioned, moss, leaves, dirt, debris. Place it inside there, and it operates as a squeeze bottle. Or you could just simply use it like a straw and suck the water out. It passes through that filter and then into your mouth. Now, this company here claims to take out the exact same thing as the Grail. It retails for about $65, and it's good for 100 gallons. The bonus feature is it takes out pesticides, pharmaceuticals, and radiation. So I'm going to go ahead and read this off to you right here, exactly what it says. I'm going to scroll down to where it says dissolved solid contaminants, heavy metals, aluminum, asbestos, cadmium, chromium-6, mercury, arsenic, lead, copper, nitrates. And then down here, radiological contaminants, radon, 222, 226, cesium, 134, 137. And then it says remove up to 99.99% of harmful contaminants. And then it goes into other types of stuff. Herbicides, detergents, pesticides, benzene, chlorine, gets rid of odors, salt. It also increases the pH level of the water for up to 30 days while using the filter. And to be brutally honest, if it does something that a Grail does not, you got two choices. Use a Grail and use this, combine the two, or simply use a one and done. Now, just like the Grail, the filters are around 25 to 30 bucks, so it's a competitive price. These come in different colors as well. Can be clipped to a backpack or tossed into a backpack. Now, the million-dollar question, once again, how do you know there's radiation in the water? How do you know there's pesticides in the water? By simply looking at it? You don't. But again, looking at point A to point B, what's in between there, what happened in the world, things like that. If you have a Geiger counter and it goes off, obviously a Grail's not going to cut it. So using a combination of the two or a one and done, again, it's up to you. But to be honest, if I had to pick one and I was concerned about radiation, I'm not going to choose a Grail. I'm not going to boil the water either. I'm going to go with something like this. Another way to disinfect water is through a chemical. In the past, I've talked about tincture of iodine 2% and sodium hypochlorite or household bleach. Downside to carrying bleach with you: it could break open your backpack. It could spill everywhere. It can make a mess, bleach out your clothes, ruin everything in there, and then you smell like bleach for like a month, right? So the realism of carrying bleach out to the woods, slim to none. In an urban environment, perfect. Tincture of iodine 2%. Great to add to a medical bag, a first aid kit. Disinfect the wounds, also your water. Downside: it has a hard time killing cryptosporidium. So, again, a give and a take with any type of chemical disinfectant. Do I want to carry bleach that will kill cryptosporidium? Or do I want to roll the dice with tincture of iodine 2% and hope that it kills cryptosporidium? What if there's a way to have best of both worlds? What I have right here is called the H2Go Purifier Prime. Simply put, this thing right here is a way to manufacture your own household bleach, or NaOCl. This way you have the best of both worlds. You have a contained unit. All you do is add salt water to it, and it will actually charge that salt water to create bleach. The system right here is basically a battery. On the bottom, we have a charging port. In the bag, you have a charger that can go into any type of USB port. Along with that, if you're in a different part of the country or a different part of the world and you have different type of outlets, it comes with an adapter. Or in America, Now, along with that being in this mesh bag, you have some test strips, a plastic bottle, and most importantly, this card right here is your cheat sheet that tells you how to mix this stuff up. All you're going to do is you're going to add regular salt to this line right here on this bottle. Reach into our bag. This is not cocainum. We'll just tear a small corner off there, and we'll add that salt to our container, to that fill line. So the first thing you want to determine is how much water do you want to disinfect. We're going to use 1 US quart. The lowest setting on here is 1 liter, and I'm okay with that. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to take your salt water solution and pour it into that slot right there, keeping the unit as flat as possible. Just add the drops to it until it fills it up to the top. There you go. Now from here we're going to press this white button 1 time for 1 liter. Now we're going to hold it down for 2 seconds and the water should fizz up. Just like that. Once that green light goes off and the fizzing stops, you've created your sodium hypochlorite. You got a portable device that creates sodium hypochlorite or household bleach. When you smell this, it smells like a jacuzzi. You know, a jacuzzi smell, it's like that hot smell, got that chlorine that kind of wafts through there. That's exactly what this smells like. And that's exactly what you created. You created household bleach, a diluted form of it. Now, how does this work? In the world, when you use bleach, it's 2 to 4 drops per US quart, depending on the turbidity of the water. And you wait 30 minutes. Exact same thing right here. You dump that inside here, you wait 30 minutes, and it kills everything in that water. Now, the exception is cryptosporidium. You want to wait 4 hours. Other than that, 30 minutes, you're golden. Now, just like disinfecting with household bleach, once I open this up after 30 minutes, I should smell that chlorine smell. And I do. You can also dribble over the threads. That way the threads are disinfected, as well as your cap. Now, I showed you earlier these test strips. It has a chlorine indicator on here. Once you use a test strip after 10 minutes, up to 30 minutes, but they prefer you to do it around 10 minutes. That way you can determine whether or not you have to double dose this. Looking at the color of that test strip that I just showed you, if it falls within the low to high end, you're good. If it's too low, you'll need to redose that water and use a higher salt water solution inside there until it falls within that indicator. But most of the time, if you can smell it like that, it smells just like bleach. And I'm actually in awe of this system because for years I was talking about using either, 2 to 4 drops of 6% sodium hypochlorite or tincture of iodine. This right here eliminates all the BS. Don't gotta carry bleach, don't gotta carry iodine. And here's why you can eliminate iodine. Now someone's gonna say, well, iodine is good for medical. This system right here allows you to create solutions to treat wounds, hand sanitizer, wipe areas down for fresh produce, food prep, medical utensils, and so on and so on. This card that comes with it actually shows you how to mix up solutions for all kinds of scenarios, including World War I's Dakin solution. So in a nutshell, a Dakin solution was thought of in World War I as a way to get rid of infections or bacteria in wounds to help the healing process. if you just dump bleach on there, will it kill everything? Yes, it will, but it's going to ruin all the soft tissue and prevent that wound from healing. Long-term peroxide does the same thing. But how can we go ahead and remove all the infection in there without dumping tincture of iodine 2% in there when I have a one and done system that will create sodium hypochlorite that will do the exact same thing, but in a diluted manner? So the Dakin solution for wound care requires a 100 milliliter bottle, spray bottle, and simply taking that machine and clicking it to the 5L or 5 liter and adding that to that 100 milliliter bottle full of water. I can then spray an infected area, wipe it down, spray it again, and actually close that wound up and actually wipe it down a couple times a day as needed and prevent infection from forming. Downside to this. In my opinion, there is no downside to this. One could argue, yes, you can't get rid of pesticides, you can't get rid of chemical waste, pharmaceuticals, you can't get rid of radiation, but what do you gain with something like this? Just by itself, wound care, in my opinion, that's all the more the reason to carry something like this and toss it into your medical kit, your trauma bag, your IFAC, things like that. So the pros outweigh the cons, and to be really honest, why is everything in bushcraft and survival got to carry this or this? Why not carry this and a grail? Why not carry this and a container to boil in? Why not carry this and the ETA? So I'm going to carry both these. This is going inside my medical bag, and I highly suggest you get one. The link to this will be in my video description box. It's going to say H2Go Purifier. Just click on it, take you right to the website, tell them I sent you. Get yours today. Boiling will always be the most effective to render inert or destroy or kill viruses, bacteria, protozoa, and parasites. Downside, petroleum, pharmaceuticals, yada yada. Filters are always cool at doing that. Removing viruses, bacteria, protozoa, parasites, pharmaceuticals, yada yada yada. There's always a downside. You could drop them, you could break them, it could get frozen, it could get clogged. You're limited to the supply, 24 ounce, 28 ounce, 16 ounce, combination of the two, and you're unstoppable. But you have to admit that last one I showed you, that was pretty badass. And in my opinion, just belonging inside of a medical kit at a minimum is worth its weight in gold. The main purpose was to disinfect water chemically, but the list of other things that you can do with that, especially on a bug out scenario, that's just like up here. And once again, that link to that will be in the video description box. In my opinion, it needs to be a highly sought after piece of kit. It needs to be. And I'm honestly surprised that more people aren't, actually showing this. It should be out there. Get this item out to the public. The military currently uses something like that or uses that system, but on a larger scale. This is a small personal unit. They actually make these large machines, and I believe the military is under contract with them. It's pretty cool. It's badass. So check it out. Use any of those options. Now the link to my Amazon affiliate store is also in my video description box. On there you're going to find the Grail, you're going to find that ETA, you're going to find Life Straw, you're going to find the Sawyer, even that stove that I showed. You're going to find all that stuff in there. Just click on that and scroll through the options and the categories, and you'll find all that stuff right there. Father Nomad will be there as well for the filter adapter. Check him out. Tell him I sent you. As if you guys are watching this series and getting those views up to 100K, keeping it right in that area, I'll keep doing bug out videos because we have a lot of stuff to cover, like ways of bugging out. Talked about a vehicle, talked about being on foot, but there are other options. So give it a few days. I'll look at it, see what the numbers are, crunch the numbers. If we're getting close to 100K, we'll continue that series, but it's solely dependent on you guys. That means you want to see it. It means you're sharing it with everybody else, everywhere. You're making it be in demand, and I appreciate that. So it gives me something to look forward to and something to do other than the usual going outside and camping. Other than that, let's go ahead and get out of here. With that, all the gear in my videos can be found in 2 places. 1, my Amazon affiliate page, and 2, my Etsy store. Both links are found inside my video description box. Now please do me that favor. Hit that like and subscribe button, then ring that notification bell. Once you ring that bell, please select all notifications. And as always, thank you for your comments, views, and support. Thanks for watching. Get out in the field, have some fun. I'm going to catch you next time.